Well, hi and welcome to my shop. I'm ready to go the next step with this radio, which I think is trying to look for some discrete location where the signal is dramatically weakened through the radio instead of continuing on strong and coming out the speaker. Unfortunately, that could be this tube. Could be the whole problem is just this one tube, which I cannot replace. I don't have a replacement for it. But there's a good chance there's other factors that are weakening the signal in the radio. There's a really good indication that there's something going on either in the IF, at the end of the IF stages, or ahead of the IF stages. So if that's the case and I can find it, maybe I can strengthen all that up and we're going to get enough volume out of the speaker. I can tolerate a weak tube here. So that's kind of the idea. Just a couple things first. Just in going through a few tubes, I often mention about some tubes having indications inside the glass envelope of how many miles they've got on them. And here's one here. So if you look at this tube, you see the black staining all through here. Same sort of thing on the other side. Exactly what that material is, I couldn't tell you. I'm sure you could research it and find out. It's black, so it looks like carbon, but I don't really know what it is for sure. But nevertheless, when you see something like that, in my mind, what you're seeing is high mileage. You know, maybe you're seeing bad operation of this tube, something wrong about how it was operated. I don't think so. I've seen this many, many times. So pick up a tube that looks like that, might be worn out. Anyway, okay, now probably the best way to pursue. Oh, one more thing I've noticed about this radio. As expensive as it is, in that it has an extra tube in it, extra big capacitor, there's a little bit of money in here to make this a nice unit. They sure cheaped out on the string system, because I don't know how to show this exactly. If you look, you can kind of see it in this shot here. Let me get a little closer. So can you see how the string comes off the wheel here at a sharp angle? That's kind of sloppy in itself. And then it goes over top of this, nothing more than a piece of bent metal. So it's actually skidding over the top of this surface here too. Worse yet, it's dragging along the side of this bracket. So right there. So this is a radio that's destined to wear its string out. Looks fine at this point. I suppose there might be a weak spot where the radio was tuned a lot. There's the end. I'm just examining the string where it goes over here to see if there is a worn out spot. Not really. Now when I get it turned this way, this is really pulling in here tight. It is what it is. It's cheap. That's really kind of surprising in a way. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this radio on. We're gonna listen to it a little bit and get in touch with just how it sounds. The speaker hooked up. The antenna wires have stayed on, amazingly enough. Put that like that. I realize I took the knobs off the clock for no good reason. So far, anyway. Good, we're all set, we're plugged in. Here we go. It's not. More nonsense on the string. I really didn't look at the lower part here that actually moves the pointer, and it also is just dragging across this knob shaft right here, just dragging on it. That's really Very, very cheap solutions here. Okay, so I do have my signal generator running in here. It's at 850 right now, and it's actually broadcasting through that loop of wire you see here. Let's see if the radio can pick it up. About 850. Well, it's in this range here. Let's see. Should be 1,000 hertz tone with it. Sounds pretty good, actually, though. Sounds pretty good, except they don't seem to pick up any stations with it. That's Let me boost up the signal generator here. I enjoy tuning radio, so this part's fun. Not happening. Okay, so we'll pick a quiet spot. It sounds quiet, or is there a carrier, like a silent carrier there? I think we're better finding a hissy spot. Okay, well, I'm going to tune the signal generator and we'll see if I can get it to show up. And I think the answer is no. Let me tune the radio up higher there. And double check. The lower frequencies are up higher. There it is. So that's a fairly heavy signal generator signal I'm putting into the coil. It's only a couple of feet and this radio can barely hear it. There's something else interesting I noticed when I was in here. Last night I was in here briefly. Let me get the camera around here so you can see this. Decide for yourself what it means. So there's 3 trimmer capacitors here. I do not have the alignment instructions. I don't have anything in writing that says these need to be adjusted. But normally, if there's no actual capacitor in here, there'd be no screw in here or anything. So it sure looks like there's a capacitor there, and there, and there. Now, if you look at the screw heads on them, can you see they are all turned exactly the same way? That looks like a starting position. That looks like something that would be done with these capacitors during the manufacture of this radio. Maybe when the capacitor is manufactured, these are turned exactly like this. Maybe they've been turned down tight, I don't know. I haven't touched them. I don't want to touch them yet. But it sure looks like they're all still in the start position. So if these need to be adjusted and they've never been adjusted, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. So maybe these are not part of the alignment process. Maybe they're sitting here but they don't do anything. I don't want to find out just yet. But I think that's an interesting observation. What are the chances that these things, having been aligned properly, would have the screw heads all lined up exactly flat? I mean, it's 0. 0. So there's something about that. Something about that. So I've done the alignment on the IF, and I've done the alignment on the first, if you can call it an alignment, on the first coil. I've seen the schematic now. I kind of know a little bit better what I'm dealing with. So in the capacitor, there's 3 sections. 2 of them look the same. One looks quite different. can we guess the one that looks different is the oscillator? Now I got to get this signal stronger here. Let me put, no, I sure made a difference. Put that there. Now the signal is really strong. I'll turn it back. Put it like that. That's much better. I can do something with that. Good. So what do we got? So the radio seems to have enough volume. Just doesn't seem to be receptive to radio signals. It's certainly picking up the one I've got in here coming off this coil, but the antenna's right there, so that's not too surprising. And that's a pretty hefty signal inside here too. So I think all indications are it's weak, and my suspicion is it's because of a lack of alignment of these. So going back to which one of these is which, so the antenna is hooked directly to this, so we know what that is. If this is RF and it has this dimension, and this one has roughly the same number of plates in that, there's a good chance this is also RF. And then this would be the local oscillator. If I interfere with the capacitor or the local oscillator, you'll hear the radio tune back and forth. If I interfere with the other ones, you'll just hear the signal get weaker. Right. Should only get weaker. So let's do that. So the rotating plates are actually grounded. It's the fixed plates that you need to interfere with. So I'm going to put my finger close to the what I think are the oscillator plates and see if it doesn't tune off. Okay, that didn't seem to tune at all. Let's try this one. Same deal. So the frame of the capacitor is isolated away from the chassis. So when I said the stators are the grounded ones, they're not really grounded in here. They're just hooked up to the frame. Now let's try the other. Let's try the moving plates. What I think is the oscillator. Just going to get that annoying hum every time I do this. Well, that didn't work worth a hoot. There we are. So touching these plates, it's not doing anything. That almost suggests to me that these are not tuned, and so they're already not tuned. So I'm not tuning them more. They're not tuned, so you don't hear any effect. This one, and when I touch it, I change the capacitance. The capacitor. The question is the signal getting quieter and louder, or is it being retuned? To me, that's retuned. I don't think there's any doubt. That's oscillator. This has to be the antenna. This must be the second RF tuning. Now, this screw I can get to. This is the other thing. These other screws, whoa, they're behind this metal plate. So you actually have to move the metal plate, remove the metal plate to get at the other two screws, or do some fancy screwdrivering. But this one's available right here. So now first shot at this, you know what, I'm going to hook up an instrument. I think I'm going to stop for a minute, going to hook up the AVC meter and stuff like that so we can really watch what's happening here properly. I haven't got enough instrumentation on the job here yet. Okay, so what I got going here is I have this meter now hooked up to the AVC voltage. I'm getting the voltage from the top of the volume control here. You can see the clip lead is just hooked up to the voltage lead for this meter. Meter's on DC minus, which means a negative voltage goes upstream. You can see I'm having challenges with my cameras again, getting all this on camera. I'm sorry it's slightly out of focus. It's really hard for me to achieve everything here. So this guy's on the 15 volt scale, so it'll be 15 volts full scale. So this is just a couple volts sitting here. As we tune, you can watch the effect on the so not a lot of meter movement over there. Sometimes I think I hear voices. So what we'll do now, see, this is a fairly clean signal. I'm going to weaken it a little bit here on my signal generator. Now we're going to take the signal tracer and we're going to follow this signal through the radio as best I can and try to find some spot. You know, this is not that weak. This just isn't that weak. What am I looking for? You know, I'm thinking this through again. I think it might be better to fiddle around with this alignment first. Let me do that. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to just fiddle with it, see if we can get an increase at all. They indicate whether these have ever been adjusted. And there's one sticking out here for me to do. I think I noticed earlier that there was no directionality in this radio as I rotated it around to try to pick up a weak signal better. That's another indication of poor tuning up there. Now let's just forget the signal tracing for a moment. We'll do this little experiment. It's so easy to do. Metal screwdriver. Seems alright. Okay, so this is tightened right down. There we go. Oh, it's definitely doing something. Just weakened it right. Okay, let's go back the other way. Oh, it's very distinct. Okay, so we can watch the meter over here. 5-volt scale now. Now let me just make sure this radio is tuned properly. Okay, again, I'm not doing the oscillator. I'm not doing that part. I'm just concentrating on the things that affect the signal strength. Okay, I'm watching the meter over yonder. Well, we've ended up in a not a dramatically different position, but a little bit different. So the next one is similar in that you're just building up the strength. So I'm going to take this plate off because eventually I got to get to the oscillator one too. So we'll take the plate off. Take the plate off here. Checked earlier, it's just these two screws. And that came off awfully easy. Okay. Plate is off. Now I got access to all three screws now nicely. Okay, I'll try this one. I'm really hoping for a huge variation there. Take my hand away from the antenna. Steel screwdriver. Seem to do anything. Okay, watching the meter over yonder. There actually is a peak right here. Get it right on. Go back to this one. Okay, now this would normally be specified to be done at a certain frequency. And I may be at the wrong end of the band to even be doing this kind of stuff. But that's okay for now. Nothing too dramatic there. The last one's the oscillator. That's just a matter of varying where the radio tunes things in. It doesn't really change its strength. So with that little adjustment, could that be all it took? There must be more adjustments in this guy. Must be more adjustments. I would guess. I don't see any. Just that first antenna coil. Let's try that again. First antenna coil. I now know it has a single slug in the secondary side of the coil. That's probably too big. What did I do with my nice little guy? Give that one a try. Okay, we're in. Now watching the meter. Quite a clear spot, but not way off. So I didn't exactly get a particular boost out of that. Let's try receiving some stations again. And you know what we'll do? We'll set the radio to 640 exactly, where there is actually 590. We'll do this with 590. 590. Very strong station at 590. That's probably the heterodyne sound you hear is the other carrier. Okay, well, we'll get this guy out of here. There you hear the station. This is about the strongest AM station I can get during the day here. I'm going to see now, is this an antenna angle problem? It's a little better this way. So, I mean, it's laying flat. It's not really normally that way. Let's put it up the way it normally is. Just fool with these a little bit. You can still see the ABC voltage. This is now coming from the station we're listening to. This is the antenna trimmer here. It's right on. And this one, this is not bad. They're just not working badly here. It's really not that bad. Why was I so upset with its operation before? Because of the small ADC voltage and the apparent lack of volume. But there's lots of volume here.
To you, city people, very merry holiday season.
Don't.
Have you been on medication or just lousy because of your weight? Sleep apnea.
So I definitely hear some speaker distortion in there. Cone rubbing distortion.
I'm Pat Carano, a 51-year-old accounting professional from Woodbridge, and I'm telling you, losing my 152 pounds has changed my life. Come and see how we do it. Losing weight together and keeping it off. Change your... Call now. 416-222-9887.
Let's find out if it is a speaker. I'll bring out a speaker that doesn't have that kind of distortion in it. We'll just give another speaker a go. Wire. Radio is actually running with a dim bulb in the circuit, but because it's such low power, 112 volts. Okay, so we'll swap the speaker here. Oh, wait a minute, not that way. Okay, let's see what it sounds like now. how good is this ever going to sound? So the basic line is it's working. This speaker sounds better than the other one. I'm sure the other one has some trouble in it with cone rubbing. One simple thing I can do is I can flip that speaker upside down in the take it from this way and just flip it over and put it back in. The reason for that is I imagine there's some gravity's pulling down on the cone for 40 years, and maybe if I reverse it it'll pull it the other way back into place. I don't really know. That's an easy thing to do, but I don't know if it would ever really help. Other problems could be not so much gravity, could just be reshaping of the cone over time or something. I don't know. Let's take a look at it. We'll take a look at the speaker, see if there's anything obvious. But had some luck with doing some pretty crazy things with speakers that you would think would be almost destructive to them, and I have fixed a couple. Very surprising how I did it. Which is nothing more than soaking the cone with water and leaving it to dry again. I might as well take it right out of there. Looks easy enough to do. Woo, 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 woo. Back off. Okay, so I started turning the screw, and the first thing I heard was a click and a kind of a cracking sound. Yeah, there's a good chance that this guy is installed on. He is. It's got plastic post. So something like this, plastic post. See, this one's shattered. This, if you can see it, this one is shattered. That's what I think is going to happen to these ones that are holding the speaker. So the removal of the speaker, not going to happen here. So the speaker cone's in perfect shape. Is this really the problem? You know what I'm going to test the speaker directly. That's what I'll do. I'll hook the I'll run the speaker right from my I have a couple signal generators here. I can do it. This one's got enough power to run a speaker directly. So let's set that up, and we'll listen to the speaker all by its lonesome. So that sudden, those changes in volume, that's not coming from up here. That's the speaker doing that. Now it could be my clip leads, maybe. Let's just check and be sure. No, that's definitely so what's happening right now, I believe, on this speaker, the cone movement is restricted mechanically by some rubbing. It keeps the volume down. It could even be the cone is actually stuck, and part of the cone is wiggling a little bit under the pressure of the voice coil, because we can hear it. I don't know, I'm just kind of trying to think my way through. I can't look inside here and see what's really going on, so imagination is the only way in. I'll push part of the cone and see what it changes. So the sound changes dramatically. Kind of weird, isn't it? Kind of a weird sound. Oh, did you hear that? Now that's what it should sound like. I'm driving the cone forward with my finger quite a ways. Yeah. So the real issue with this radio is the speaker. At this point anyway. So that almost gives me the idea that you have the cone vibrating at a low volume, and there's something out here for it to hit. It's not hitting it. You turn up the volume, it starts hitting it. Then you hear the bzzz. It could be the cone is moving back and forth inside the magnet, and under higher volume it starts to hit. Maybe there's debris back in here. It's kind of again hard to believe. How would debris get back in there? Is there another way to take the speaker out? No. So if I want to fiddle with this, I pretty well have to remove the speaker and run the risk of breaking off the posts. It's a serious risk. It's a big deal, breaking those posts off. Oh my gosh. But this is never going to sound good the way it is. Okay, let me go back to the one. Now, that sound I heard, that cracking sound, might have just been the screw breaking loose. Oh my gosh. it's blowing its horn at me here. Don't do that. It's like some kind of warning horn going off. Ooh. No, you know what? It just sounds like those posts are going to crack right off. What can I try doing with the speaker in the cabinet? I don't know. So you know what? This is a pretty open grill, and I could soak that speaker cone from up here. The trick is you soak the cone with water. You just soak it, and you just let it sit and dry. And somehow, through that process, it will recenter itself. Hard to believe in a way, but I've seen it work twice. Can I really soak the cone here? So that was... That's the little piece that sits on here. What happens if I try this and it doesn't work? Well, the radio sounds horrible the way it is now because of the speaker. How would I get water on there? Look, it's spray from the back here, why not? And spray from the front. I'm picturing myself, oh, careful man, you're going to crack the cabinet doing that kind of stuff. This cabinet. Oh, there's a crack in this cabinet already. Put some light on here. Oh, it's cracked right here. Right here. You know, I felt that because my hand for a moment went right in here and I could just feel the relative movement. I'd never see that. Oh yeah, it runs all the way along. Yeah. Hope it's not cracked anywhere else. That's one of the big deals about this radio is the cabinet is really cool. It's really cool looking. Could probably put a little glue on that to settle that down. Back to the speaker. So I think I can get it soaked. Even working from the back, I think I can soak it. The normal way I do this is not by spritzing, but by paintbrush with water and just paint the water on. And then we'll leave it sit. I'm gonna give this a try. So I think that's it for today. I'll soak this thing and we'll find out tomorrow if it worked, because it has to sit for the whole day to dry out. Dry out a lot faster in my wintry dry home here, actually. Great. Okay, I think we're on to something here. Yeah, I went off to do that. And the situation with the speaker is way more serious than I thought. I just laid my wet brush up against it, and look, the cone just ripped completely away from the frame. The cone is shot. The cone is shot. I didn't do it any good trying to put water on it. So speaker's got to come out, post breaking or not, or this radio is never going to work again under any circumstances. It's a bit of a heartbreaker. So I think maybe a helpful thing is to heat these screws up a bit before I turn them. I'm not even sure of that, but how would that help? The idea is to make the screw looser in the plastic. You'd have to think a hot screw would be looser. So I'm going to give that a try here. We'll see what happens. You know, I could be much ado about nothing. I could be all wrung out over the possibility of cracking the screws here, but there really isn't any possibility. It's just the finding out part. It's the problem. Okay. a hot air gun. I'm going to be trying to blast. We'll just do one. We'll do this clicky screw first. So this will take a little while to drive the heat into the screw, and for the heat to travel down the screw. The temperature of this is set to 100 degrees C, so supposedly that's 100 degree air coming out of it. It's warmed up a little bit. And it's skipping over this tool. I'm going to put a big screwdriver on it, so I have a lot of control over the power I'm applying. Big screwdriver, that's too big. Okay, how about my college? Here's my college screwdriver. This guy's been with me since I was in college. You get attached to your tools, you know. This doesn't want to grab in there either. And now the screw is cooled off. Really? You're going to give me this kind of trouble. One of these screwdrivers is going to grab it. There he goes. I can't believe it. Why don't we use this? Another one of those. There we go. Well, the heating thing seemed to help. So to feel what I just did with the screw now, to feel any heat, is I put it on my upper lip. The upper lip is the most sensitive spot in your body for registering temperatures. So anytime you want to know the temperature of something, stick your upper lip on it. Oh, I pulled out the wrong screw, for God's sakes. That's what's happening. Oh man. That's why the screw came out so easy. It's not the right screw. Oh boy. Okay. I put the wrong screw back in. Okay, over to the right screw. Oh, it's stuck as hard as can be. In a situation where you're trying to overcome friction like this, if you get a little too aggressive and try to move the item too quickly, you're not going to overcome the friction, and you're going to break the item. If you apply the pressure just enough to just initiate movement, you might be able to slowly move the item without causing the crack, because you're giving time for the friction to kind of not relax, but slip. Time is on your side with these things. Smokes. This is what it's going to take to get these screws out. So I got this one out. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with the rest of them. How warm is it? Oh, it's pretty warm. Look at the threads on that. Okay, so I'm going to carry on and do the rest of them. And get that speaker out. We'll see what's happened to it. So the last screw here was really a monster to get out. There it is. But applying heat on those 4 screws is the only way I've gotten this out without cracking off the posts, I'm sure of it. There we are. Let me put this aside. There. Let the truth be told. Oy. So you can see where I started wetting it. That didn't go well. Believe me, I didn't blast it with my brush. There's just no strength left here at all. Just nothing. Oh, see it just crack here. So, whoa, don't do too much more to it. What am I going to do about this? I'm not a speaker repair guy. Whew, she's in bad shape. My only hope with this is to fix these weaknesses and then somehow get the cone to recenter. Yeah, really, how am I ever going to manage that? You can even see there's a right where this seam is, there's a variation, like the cone isn't smooth, it's got a corner in it there. Pretty simple speaker. I wonder if I have another one exactly like this. No. Chances of having exactly the same size speaker. It says on the back of it, golden voice. Can you see that? Golden voice. This little speaker, golden voice. Lots of numbers on it, eh? All over the place. Even the paper cone. Okay. I know what the problem is. Thanks for watching this episode, and we'll see what we can do with that speaker or something to get this radio working nicely, sounding nice.